Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Peacock Podcast. Now, it has been a long time since I made one of these, and I keep saying I'm going to start doing these regular. And, I got separated back in September, and the next 6 months were fairly tumultuous. You know, you got to go through all these stages. It's scary and horrifying, and there's the gamut of emotions you have to run. But inevitably, it could turn into a wonderful thing, which, if you have the right mindset, it certainly can. But this is not a podcast about relationships. This is a podcast about board games. And have I got a ton to talk about. So I'm just going to jump right into what I've been playing over the last little while. So let's start off with a big Kickstarter that showed up from Awakened Realms, a game where you're waking up from hyperspace on a ship and your memory's foggy, so you don't quite remember the layout of the ship, and that's why you gotta explore it. And of course, this game is Nemesis. I did a review. It's up on the Dice Tower if you want to see the overview and all that, but to put it into a nutshell, it's essentially Aliens the movie in a box. It's definitely the inspiration for the designers. The intruders look just like the aliens with a couple extra appendages. And this has to be the most thematic game I have ever played. It has a co-op mode, a full co-op, but this game is a very cutthroat, sort of semi-cooperative game. I mean, it's trying to get that dead of winter thing across a little bit because you're going to have these objectives. There's so many things that have to work out for you to win this game. You've got two objectives dealt to you at the start, a corporate and a personal one. You've got to pick one, and one of them could be the only survivor, or make sure player one does not survive. And on top of that, you have to make it back to Earth, accomplish any other objectives. The ship has to not explode. So again, if everyone doesn't partially work together, then the game is going to eat you up and spit you out. Like, there's so many things that can go wrong. Too many malfunctions will blow up the ship. Too many fire tokens will blow up the ship. And if one player is like, hey, I'm not helping, I'm not going to put out fires, then, the ship can blow up and everyone can die. But the mechanics are very simple, essentially. I mean, it's a big game. It's got a lot of rules, but essentially you're doing two actions, and everything you do requires discarding cards from your hand. There's your basic actions like moving and shooting and punching that everyone can do. There's card-specific action to your trade, like I'm gonna seal a door up. So you would play that card and then discard whatever number of action cards the cost for that particular card is. And then there's room actions. The ship is full of rooms, like 15, 20 rooms. There's some rooms that are in every game, and then there's all but 3 of the room 2s that are used, so that can shake things up. And the rooms can be fire control access, where you can remotely put out fires. It could be airlock control, where you can trap someone in and the aliens in, and that airlock's going to open up and suck everything out into space. This is a game where you can really get into your characters and kind of role play through the story, and it's very much a game, win or lose, there was a cinematic story that was played out, and you can talk about what happened, and I think the game is fantastic. I think the biggest downfall to most people's opinions is that it does have player elimination. Now, theoretically, you can get eliminated early on, but I find if a guy gets killed, then you're sitting back and you're watching, for 20 minutes to an hour as the rest of the game unfolds. There's also a rule where the first person killed can start controlling the aliens, but then it gets borderline impossible for the players because normally they're moving around a lot more randomly, and when a player can control where they're going and choose what kind of attacking they're doing, it gets brutal. So it's a highly recommended game. I've already played it 5 times. The first group I played it with, 2 of the guys were like, I think this is my favorite game. And my brother went out and tracked down a copy from the Board Game Geek Market. So fantastic thematic game, Nemesis. I recommend it. It's not for everyone. And again, I would suggest you go watch my review on The Dice Tower and see if it might be a right fit for you. Next game I'm going to talk about, Maximum Apocalypse. Now, this game hasn't got a ton of buzz. I did see a review from Z on the Dice Tower. He found it pretty favorable. And this is a game, after the first Kickstarter, my brother had a copy. He brought it over, we played it. And I was like, wow, this game is super fun. I really like how it plays. You've got all kinds of individual decks of cards, depending on whether you're the gunslinger or the samurai. And in that deck of cards is your own unique items and actions. And it's a cooperative game. And there's a ton of different missions, and there's also a ton of different apocalypse decks you use. For example, you can have an aliens apocalypse deck or a zombies apocalypse deck, and those are the bad guys that you're fighting. And each of the different apocalypses will have a bunch of cards that'll have the mission layout. As an example, the first tutorial mission for the zombie apocalypse, you pull up in a van, you've got to get a certain amount of gasoline. Oh, actually, you start on a mall. You have to find enough gasoline and get to your van on the other side and then escape. And all the while, the combat's really cool because you'll equip item cards. You'll have a certain amount of bullets, and there's monster tokens that will, if they appear on your space, then they would kind of attach themselves to you, and you have to deal with them, or they're going to hit you at the end of your turn. You got to keep finding food, or you can starve to death and get weaker. And I ended up getting everything after my first play because I really enjoyed it. I've played it a few times with my son now. He likes it. I think it's a really smooth, fun apocalypse-themed game, and you just pick your apocalypse. That's Maximum Apocalypse, and there was the original Kickstarter, and then they came out with the Gothic Horrors expansion and a couple of small Apocalypse expansions. I have not touched a drop in the bucket worth of content for this game. To which there's lots. And when you're moving around on the grid, it's all these tiles with locations, and as you're exploring, you'll flip them over. It could be bad. There's pre-arranged scavenge decks where you can search most tiles and grab other items and add them to your hand. Just a really fun game. It's kind of like super light 7th Continent with way more combat, in a sense, I guess, but I mean, if I'm really reaching to compare it to something, I guess I would go with that. Next up, I'm going to talk about Tmnt Shadows of the Past. Not the new reboot Kickstarter. I passed on that because it was super expensive. They didn't have any upgrade packs for the original, now out of print version. So I got my copy all painted up, played through the first comic with my son, and I had a blast with it. It's kind of comparable to Conan. It's a quick setup, tactical skirmish game. One person is the bad guys, and then 1 to 4 people control the turtles and other allies. It was nice to actually get through the first whole comic. I like it. I'm not frothing at my mouth to get all that new content. We'll see what hits retail, and I'd probably be happy to pick something up down the road. So if you like Conan, you would probably like TMNT Shadows of the Past. And another big box game I got to that's been sitting forever was Rise of Moloch from Simon. Now, this Kickstarter did okay, I guess, and it never really hit with a big splash. However, if you're into your one versus many dungeon crawl type games, this one's a pretty fantastic version of it. It's got a steampunk theme. The minis are fantastic. Again, one person is the overlord and everyone else controls the gentleman's club. Now, when they say gentlemen, they mean ladies and gentlemen because there's just as many female characters as there are male. I've got so much content for this from the Kickstarter, and actually, because it wasn't doing that great retail, I don't think any of these expansions are going to make it to retail now. So all you can really get is the base game. And Z did a review in this. I have to agree with a lot of his good points. Like, it's super thematic. It's got that level 7 Omega protocol mechanic where if you use your ether on an ability, either on a gun you got or on one of your powers on your player board, you have to give that to the Nemesis player and he can start using that for his powers. So that push-pull mechanism's cool. And again, the fact that there's so many different things that give you upgrades and buffs. When you play 2 players and one person is 4 gentlemen, it's really overwhelming all the different options you have. So I would recommend this one, unlike TMNT, which I think actually plays great with one person playing all the turtles. But this one I think will... Now, I like the game quite a bit, but I don't love it at 2 because I think it's more fun to have a group, and it would be nice just to focus on your own guy, because you've got your role cards that give you special items, you've got your player board that's got special items and skills, you got the weapons you pick up that gives you special buffs, you've got items and your native weapons and stuff. So there's a lot of tabulation, especially if you're controlling 4. But other than that, now the campaign's not super long. I think it's the base game campaign is 6 missions, and yeah, geez, I have maybe 5-6 campaigns. I don't even know all the stuff I have, but beautiful minis, fantastic steampunk theme. If you're into one versus many, this is one of the good ones for sure. Now, let's get into another Rise game. This would be Rise of Fenris, the campaign Scythe expansion. I'm a huge fan of Scythe. It was always popular with my game group, and I never mind playing. And, all the expansions for it have been great so far. This one is... This is like... I would liken it to Tuscany Essential Edition. I find it to be an essential expansion because it adds so much to the game. Yes, it's got a campaign, but it's really, you follow the campaign, but every different campaign mission is like a module expansion that'll add something new to the game. And all the new expansion feat or all the modules are at the back of the book. So when you get through the campaign, you pick and choose what you want to play with. There's things like different goal overlays. So instead of like where you put your stars, you might want to play more of a combat heavy game so you can get more stars from fighting combat. It's got that legacy aspect, so I don't want to spoil a whole lot. I have a review up on the Dice Tower of this. Jamie Stagmeyer sent me a review copy, and bless him for not charging me for the game after not producing a review after 2 months. I think it took me about 6 months to get that review, that thing played and reviewed, but he's a great guy. I appreciate the fact that he was understanding. I was kind of taking a step back from the media creation for a while, but I've already got 2 reviews up on the Dice Tower in the last couple of weeks, and I've got one I'm editing right now, Wingspan. So I'm back into it. I'm definitely making more content, and let's try this again. I'm going to try and do these a lot more regular. A couple a month is what I'm aiming for. So Rise of Fenris for Scythe, 2 big thumbs up. I love it. It really gives you unlimited amount of playing Scythe and keeps it fresh. Moving on down the list, we have The Edge Dawnfall. Now I'm a sucker for skirmish games. I've got a bunch. I probably didn't need to pay an arm and a leg on eBay for this, but the presentation was phenomenal. I was attracted to how streamlined the rules were. It's from the designer of Neuroshima Hex, and each faction has their own huge stack of cards, and then you've got your tray with your dudes in it, and everyone can move and do their base attack, but the deck of cards you have, you're going to customize which guys you bring to every skirmish and what cards you're going to use. Now, they have recommended first-time decks and stuff like that, which is great, but it really adds a lot of cool strategy, and there's so much to this game to explore, and I haven't even scratched the surface. I've played a couple of the starter games with my 10-year-old, and it was all right. I destroyed him. He wasn't. When you have all those options with the cards, as great of a gamer he is, he just didn't take to it immediately. But then I set up one of the campaigns, because there's like so much work that went into these campaigns where you basically start off with a very small deck of cards, and you have objectives, and you follow along a story. There's paragraphs you read depending on what happens. We've only played 2 of these, but the game's been set up for a while, and I believe this is really going to open up the game. So I'll say that I like it. I think if I were to play this with one of my gamer friends, it would be top 3 skirmish games. So this is one of those ones, it's like, okay, I really need to open this game up, play it more to really get my feels for it. So I'm going to be talking about this one more. But for now, it's very cool. It's been likened to Hero Quest in the simplicity with the combat. Now, it's got when you roll to attack, you're either rolling a yellow dice, which is your normal dice, or you're paying resources to roll the good red dice, right? And you either hit or you miss, and sometimes you can pay for a reroll. Now, I can see why they went with this one dice attack, but for me, it's just... my opinion might change once I get into this game a bit more, but I like having the option to roll more dice kind of thing. You roll one dice to attack, the other guy rolls one to save. Guys don't have a lot of hit points, right? They'll have a couple of these little shield tokens. Every time you take a wound, you remove a shield token. Most guys only have one, tougher guys have two, and the big guys might have three on them, right? So every time you get hit, you're removing one of these. After playing the next game I'm going to talk about, I think I'm starting to like how easy it is to really take down opponents in this game, because the next game I'm talking about is another big Kickstarter that I was stoked to get in, and that is Hate. This is a review. I have a review of this one. As of recording this, it's going up in 2 days on Friday, March 29th, so you can look for it there, but I am just in love with this game. This is one I've been playing full Clash with my 10-year-old son, and he really took to this one. The rules are super streamlined. Where this shines is the upgrading of your tribe and your village as you progress through this campaign. Your village gives you like in-game powers you can use, kind of like in the others when you use your corruption to get extra dice and stuff like that. But you start off with just the basics, and then as you upgrade your village at the end of every game, you can start unlocking more powers. Same with upgrades. These guys, there's card sleeves, and your clan members can get something like, say he gets a reroll upgrade. You slide this upgrade card into their sleeve, and that power is shown. Of course, if that guy gets knocked out during a battle and then dragged off to get tortured or eaten, he's going to lose all the upgrades he has. And this here has, you roll whatever dice. You roll a couple of dice, and if the defender does not defend it, boom, they drop. So the combat is very brutal, and I love the way it goes. So you either defend that attack or you drop. You're knocked out, and then someone can pick up your body. If no one picks up your body, you'll get a scar, which is like the opposite of an upgrade. I liken it to the death curses in Arcadia Quest, and if you get two of these, then that's gonna kill him too. But super fun game. There's with the 3D terrain, it sets up quick. There's some clashes for free for all. The game comes with 2 boards, so you can have 2 matches going at the same time. But I'm in love with Hate. It's top 2 skirmish game. It's this one in Mythic Battles for me as far as favorite skirmish games go. And again, I encourage you to go watch my review so you can see my detailed thoughts on it. Moving along, I call this 2-player King of Tokyo, and that's Dice Throne. I was never interested in this one when the Kickstarter launched. I thought, you just keep rolling a bunch of dice, and if you get lucky with your symbols, you're going to win. But there's a lot more to it than that. You've got a deck of cards, so you're rolling just like King of Tokyo or Yahtzee, right? And you're using your symbols on the dice to maybe do a basic attack. Maybe you're going to upgrade one of your attacks. Maybe you're going to counter something else. But it's a total dueling game. It comes together in a beautiful presentation. I got the season 1. I got the first 3 battles of season 2, and I'll get the 4th battle of season 2 when that one comes out. But yeah, it's a super fun, kind of like a 2-player King of Tokyo. Now you can play 3-4 players. This is one I'm going to be playing a lot more of because it's just a really fun, great, smart, imaginative game with a fantastic presentation. All right, so I've been doing pretty good on time here, so I think I'll just finish off these last few games, and I'll say goodbye to you fine folks. Next one's a big one. You might have heard of it, and that's called Wingspan. I've got a review of this one that I'm editing right now, so you'll be able to see this up on the Dice Tower. Of course, this is a new Stonemaier game. It's an engine-building game with a bird theme. Played it 5 times now, and it really does deserve a lot of the hype. I mean, it's not the greatest game in the world, but it's pretty damn good, and You can explain the game in 5 minutes. You're doing one of 4 actions, and then the next person goes. So you're either going to put a bird into your tableau, you're going to get some food so you can put more birds in your tableau, you're going to lay some eggs, which are victory points, but you also got to spend eggs to put birds in your tableau, or you're drawing cards. When you do one of those 4 actions, you're going to have birds lined up along that row. Say you do the lay egg action, then you start moving your cube to the left, and you get to do the power on every one of those birds. So you can basically create these great, wonderful combinations. And I think the closest game I can compare this to is Gizmos, which is another great engine building style game. And the theme with this and the presentation is super appealing, so it's going to be very easy to convince someone to give this game a try. So Wingspan, 2 big thumbs up. All right, next up, we're up to last night's game night. I got to play Champions of Midgard again for the first time in ages with both the expansions. With 3 players and 2 people that haven't played it before. My one good friend is a huge fan of Stone Age, so I was very excited for him to try this one out. And playing 2-player with the expansions, it fell a bit flat because there's just too much going on, but I just love them with 3-player. My love for Champions in Midgard really got invigorated playing it last night. Worker placement game. You're acquiring dice. You can go fight. You're getting victory points for the monsters. Kind of Stone Agey as far as, getting wood and food. But you don't have to feed your guys. So Champions of Midgard, I am a big fan and excited to get it played again soon. And my friend was excited to get his own copy. And another guy that joined our group who's pretty new to board games. He's more of an Ameritrash gamer and old D&D player. He really liked it too. Champions of Midgard, 2 thumbs up. Glad I got it back to the table. And finally, I'm going to end with one of the biggest modern classics going on right now, and that's Azul. We finished up our game night with a quickie game here, and I never jumped on this hype train with Azul. I mean, I bought it because of all the love it was getting. I played it a couple times. I'm like, yeah, I don't mind this game. But the 3-player game I played last night, again, it was just getting it played with the right group, and my opinion of the game shot way up, and I was seeing more and more how important planning ahead and how subtle yet deep the strategy is in this, not to mention how quickly it plays, how fast it is to set up, and how fast it is to explain. All right, so that was 3, 6, 9, 11 games I just talked about, so I'm going to edit this thing together and release it to the world. Thanks for listening. If you're still on board, keep a lookout for more from me. And please comment down below. Let me know what you think about what I'm talking about. Argue with me, disagree, agree. Love to hear your comments. And thumbs up is always appreciated. So thanks, guys. Have a good day, and I'll talk to you soon.